I've touched briefly on local travel and commuting, even state to state, but I haven't really touched on international travel. And I recently took a trip to London for a music festival that I was a part of. But before I get into that, let me start over. A couple months ago, I signed up for a contest that the Zombies was putting on, a battle of the bands in their hometown of St. Albans. I've been a fan of the Zombies for a long time, and it was actually one of the first dates that my girlfriend and I ever went on in San Francisco. Now, when I first entered the contest, I didn't realize that you had to be from their local area, so I entered anyway and left a little cheeky bio. But then a couple weeks later, they announced that it would be worldwide. So I kept my entry and kept gigging and didn't think anything about it until about a week later, I woke up to this. And just like that, I was in their top 10 and the voting had begun. It lasted about 3 weeks or so. And with the help of friends and family, I was able to stay in the race. I had made it into the top 3 and I was going to go to London. So I threw together a last minute fundraiser at my local bar Steamers. And I had my buddy Frank print up some t-shirts and found some old merch and had a lot of people show up and support. And that was one issue covered. The second issue was I didn't have a passport. I lost my passport in the 2019 Caldor fire evacuation, where I pretty much spent an entire week at my buddy's house eating Costco food and watching YouTube. But luckily the town survived with just minimal bear damage to my shed. And after the help of the Roseville passport office, I got to work. I had to go back down to Fairfield to get my birth certificate, so of course I had to stop at my favorite brewery down there. And after an excruciating couple weeks of waiting, my passport came. Now this was only my 3rd time out of the country. The first time I actually went to Costa Rica with my ex-girlfriend and her family because her mother was getting remarried. And we stayed right here on Playa Grande Beach. Completely beautiful area, my first time out of the country. I was just blown away. Just went surfing, ate a bunch of good food, and actually got to play their wedding song on the beach. The second time out of the country was to go to Iceland with a different ex-girlfriend of mine. We used to have this elopement business together, and we met this couple through Reddit from Chicago, and we met them in Iceland. And I got to perform their first dance song in this amazing cave. And we didn't have a lot of time to explore for ourselves, but we did have a couple days, and it was just amazing. It's truly like another planet over there. And now, while preparing for my 3rd international trip, I was still converting my garage into a studio, going to a couple of concerts that we had already planned to go to. And still performing music full time. Oh, and we also adopted another dog. This is Theo. And then a few days later, it was time. We flew out of SFO with a pit stop in Dublin, and then straight from Dublin to Heathrow. It was about 13 hours of total travel time, and so we were a little bit exhausted. But we navigated through the Heathrow tunnels and found the nearest hotel, got some food, and called it a night. The next morning we took an Uber from Heathrow to Hemel Hempstead, which is the next town over from St. Albans. And then we took a 20-minute commute to St. Albans, where we walked the streets eventually found the headquarters for the festival, got our badges, and then hopped on over to Empire Records to do a meet and greet. Now, Aaron got me this for our anniversary a couple years ago, and we finally had the opportunity to have the actual band sign it. After that, we were starving, so we went across the street for some food and a pint. And then we made our way to the nearest convenience store where we checked out the world news and got myself some medicine because I had gotten sick the day that we landed. Then we walked over to the nearest music store. This shop was awesome, and everyone in here was very kind. And I got myself a strap and a tuner, just some basic accessories for the show. That evening, we got to go to the Rod Argent tribute concert, the original keyboardist for the Zombies, who was having some health issues. So we got to see the Zombies perform, along with a lot of other musician friends and original members. And I just want to shout them out again for hooking me and Aaron up with free tickets for the show. After that, we had our first double-decker bus ride. And then hit the town for some more food. We found this amazing Indian place. And we left nothing on the table. The next day, we made our way to the Horn in St. Albans, where the Battle of the Bands was taking place. It was a cool little dive with a nice little stage and green room. Some of the other guys there were saying that it's pretty small, but compared to a lot of dives in California, this is not too bad at all. Even the urinals were top notch. So I got to play my songs for a pretty decent crowd. Everyone was very kind and receptive. And then I got to watch John Lyon perform with his band, as well as the band O's, who were a blast. Great energy, great songs. And then Hugh Grundy, the original drummer of the Zombies, was one of the judges there, and he got to make the announcement and share some words of encouragement for all of us.
There's no winner, there's no losers. Everybody needs to do what they do. All of you, Kyle, John Lyon, and these guys. Just do it, because it's the best thing in the world. And keep writing your own songs, and just keep trying. The winner is...
He was just a sweet guy. Also want to give a shout out to Tom, the sound guy, who was hilarious and wonderful, and the photographer there. So after that, me and Erin and a couple of her friends who she knew from the States but had recently moved to London, we all went out on the town, and the next day we got to just explore. We had a couple days left, so we switched hotels and went down to London on the west side. So we spent the whole time just eating and drinking and being tourists. I also want to give a shout out to this restaurant, the Number 10 restaurant. It was kind of like in the Kensington Earl's Court area, and it was phenomenal. So we grabbed a couple road beers and just started walking. And we ended up at the Natural History Museum. I probably took 15-20 minutes of video here alone. But here's some highlights. train. And meet up with Aaron's friends. And then we made our way to Trafalgar Square. The next day, we just kind of took it easy. Went to a bookstore, saw some dogs, and just had a nice little walk in the rain. And then it was time to get a little bit of sleep and do it all over again. Now, one thing I didn't mention is on our first flight over, Erin had left behind her laptop and phone, so she didn't have her phone the entire time. It was kind of a chaotic security checkpoint, but we were finally reunited with her stuff, and after a small flight delay, we were eventually on our way home. This time to LAX and then up to SFO. And then I thought this would be the end of the video, but upon arriving in SFO, we found out that neither of our bags were there. So after a lot of back and forth with texts and phone calls, offering vouchers, they finally located our bags. And on the final leg home, all I could think about was, did I buy the right flight case? Was it worth all the money that I spent on it? Was my guitar gonna be okay? Would I ever see it again? But sure enough, a couple days later, they dropped it off, safe and sound, along with Aaron's bag. Definitely invest in proper flight cases and know that they are gonna inspect them. I've flown with this flight case 3 times now, and every time it's worked out great. You know, a lot of the times these little things can add up and make you question if what you're doing is worth it or even right. And to that, I would say just focus on the people that you've made happy. Focus on the venues that you love. Focus on the people you love performing with. And try to keep as healthy of a balance as possible. Thanks for watching.